everyone. Thanks again for tuning in to Sin's Workshop. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Alright, I gotta make this quick because I have to get ready to go to work in about 15 minutes. I spent all my day mourning the end of Daft Punk because it is sad. It is sad for me. I love Daft Punk. But anyway, let's get into this. We're going to be talking about Godstorm by Coco Ma. Okay, I like this story, but I didn't at the same time. And the reason I didn't was because I was lost. I feel like Coco Ma didn't do a lot of grounding the reader in the story. I think she relied on us remembering the events of the first book. And I read Shadowfrost. I got an arc of Shadowfrost. I couldn't remember anything in that book. Well, that's not true. I would remember tidbits here and there about the about the book. And I reread my review and I'm like, okay, I'm remembering bits and pieces. And as I'm reading the story, I'm remembering bits and pieces, but it still left me feeling lost. You know, I needed a refresher on these character dynamics. I needed a refresher on the world building. I needed a refresher on the magic as well. So I think I would have appreciated the story if there was the story so far, prologue, before this actual story, just to highlight the impactful events of what happened in Shadowfrost, because I really wanted to love this book. I loved Shadowfrost. I thought Shadowfrost was great. I love Astrid, the main protagonist. I think she's a fierce character. I feel like, and this is probably one of the things that bothered me, I feel like she wasn't as fierce as she was in the first novel, from what I remember. Not that that's saying much, right? As for Luna, I couldn't stand Luna. I kind of hated her a little bit. I was not her biggest fan. I was really angry at her half the time because I feel like she has a lot of abandonment issues and she's sort of just taking them out on Astrid, who was forced to choose between Luna and the god that she loves. You know, yeah, that would make anyone sad, maybe even embittered a little bit, but I feel like she takes it way too far. Luna goes down a very dark path. Granted, I like this dark path that she's going through. I think it's interesting I like stories where the best friend turns into the villain in a way. That's kind of something I'm interested in. Because I feel like the character is going down this dark road and you want to see if they're going to find their way back to the light or if they are going to lose themselves to the darkness. That is something interesting. I just think for Luna, while I do like her direction, the direction her character is going, I didn't like her narrative. She was so whiny half the time. I couldn't stand her. I just wanted to be like, oh my god, get over it already. Your best friend chose the dude she loves. Can't you find some piece of yourself to feel happy that your best friend actually fell in love with someone and someone loved her back? I mean, for Astrid, it was a lose-lose situation. Lose the man she loves or lose her best friend, you know? And she ended up losing her best friend anyway. So it's sad. It sucks. I get it. It sucks. But I don't think that she did a really good job handling it. And I think that does say a lot about her character. As for some of the other character dynamics, again, like with Killian, I was confused. I was like, wait, I thought you were their friend? You're not their friend? What? Like I said, I think I needed a refresher. I think it would have benefited me as a reader to reread the first book. Unfortunately, that first book, like I said, it was an arc, so I don't have that copy anymore because these arcs, they do expire. So I don't have it anymore. I would have had to go out and buy it. I would have had to go out, check it out from the library, and I just didn't have the time or the resources to do that, unfortunately. Usually, I'm really good at remembering books, like everything other, aside from the Harry Potter stuff. But everything here, if I've read it, I can tell you exactly what it is. My husband quizzed me on that. He's like, you can't remember all these books. I literally came over here and I pointed at every single book that I've read. I remember. I'm really good at remembering plot lines and stories. So I guess Shadow of Frost wasn't as memorable as I had thought it was when I first read it, which sucks. This isn't supposed to be a critique on Shadow of Frost. I'm just, if you are a fan of Coco Ma's writing, if you're a fan of this trilogy, and I really strongly advise this. If you have Godstorm and you have not read it yet, and I want you to think about the first book. Think about Shadowfrost. Do you remember what happened in that book, basically? If you don't, I strongly recommend you reread Shadowfrost before you read Godstorm, because I think you'll enjoy it way more, because I do think if I had the time or the chance to reread Shadowfrost, I really do think I would have enjoyed Godstorm way more, because I wouldn't have felt so lost. I wouldn't have felt like Godstorm needed a little bit more grounding, a little more scene structure, and, gosh, what's the word? World building. There we go. I really do think that some of the transitions in these scenes, they did take me off guard. One moment Astrid's here, now she's at this great magical library. I'm like, wait, did this always exist? I'm confused. What's going on with this library? So, I mean, that's another example of a part where I was confused. So, that's where it just left me ungrounded. I felt like I was just reading a story. I wasn't really engaged in it. I do like the LGBTQ representation with Orion and Harry, although I still think Harry is a weird name for a demon. I thought that for the first novel, too. I feel like compared to all the other names, his name is super ordinary. And it just feels like, wow, okay, your name's Harry. It feels very normal compared to everyone else. I don't know why, it just does. So, I like Harry as a character. I do like that we got to see more of his personality in this novel. That's something I do remember. We didn't really get to see Harry shine as a character in the first novel, and now we do. So, I do like that. I do think it is interesting to see some of these characters blossom and grow. We don't really get to see a lot of not Orion. Well, that's true. We don't get to see a lot of Orion either. But her love interest, whose name also has slipped my mind, but it begins with an O. I do remember that. I remember Luna, Orion, Harry, Aeon, the Shadow God, and Astrid. So I do remember some of these characters, and I remember some of their dynamics. I just wish I had reread Shadowfrost, because I think I would have been more aware, or been more sucked into the book, basically. So it's unfortunate for me. I really wanted to love this book. I was so excited when I got a copy of it. I really was, because again, I loved Shadowfrost, but I think I just took too long to get to this one. I definitely needed a refresher on Shadowfrost. I really did need to know what was happening in that first novel, because I'm only remembering bits and pieces of it, which sucks. So, I strongly recommend rereading Shadowfrost if you don't really remember what happened in that book, because I think if you don't, you're not really going to appreciate Godstorm, unfortunately. I was a little confused by the direction of the story. I felt like it lacked some cohesion. But again, my opinion is my own. You may feel differently on the aspect. You may feel differently about this story. So, check it out. I do recommend purchasing it from your local bookseller. Once again, this was Godstorm by Coco Ma. I give it 3 out of 5 stars for all the reasons I already mentioned. Again, my opinion is my own. You may have a different opinion. If money's tight, please check out the book from your local library. I do recommend reading this series. I do think it is a good series. It's in lots of high fantasy, lots of magic. There are different tiers of magic, different sects, and I think that's really cool. And then you have shadow magic, which I also think is really cool. And you've got shadow demons and stuff. It's cool. It has a lot of cool stuff to it. I just think the story as a whole needed a little bit more structuring, a little bit more cohesion. It needed more depth and description in order to ground the reader in the story, because I felt ungrounded. I felt like I was just kind of like floating in midair. I'm like not really sure what was happening, just reading the story. Astrid again, I love her. I do think she is a good character. So once again, this was God's Story by Coco Ma. Please purchase from your local bookseller. Don't purchase off Amazon. They get enough business. If money is tight, check it out from your local library. Libraries are a great resource for the community and definitely deserve all the support we can get them. And please don't forget to support me by liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and sharing with all your book-loving friends. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and as always, happy reading!